Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we're back here today with another edition of Against Odds. So last week on our Against Odds poll, Mishra, Artificer Prodigy, came out far and away in first place, blew the competition out of the water. So this week, we are playing with Mishra in Modern, and I'm calling this deck Mishra's Arc, because a lot of the cards in the deck, almost all the creatures in the deck, except for Mishra, are two-ofs, and we'll talk about why that is as we go along. That costs $622 in paper, 201 ticks on Magic Online, and I think this one's pretty sweet. I don't know if it's very good, but it's pretty sweet. We can play some really powerful things really quickly, and it can get out of control pretty fast. Anyway, let's talk about the namesake card, the Noah in our deck, Mishra, Artificer's Prodigy. So, Grixis colors, or a generic, a blue, a black, and a red, and you get a 4/4 legendary creature human artificer. And it has an ability where whenever you play an artifact spell, you can search your graveyard, hand, and or library for a card with the same name as that spell and put it into play. So, you cast an artifact, you get another one, either from your graveyard, your hand, or your library. So it's a pretty sweet way to double up on artifacts. So if you cast one Wormcoil Engine, you get two Wormcoil Engines. You cast one, I don't know, Commander Sphere, or whatever janky artifact, you get a second copy. So that's what Mishra does. So that is the benefit of Mishra. Because a lot of the sweet artifacts are really expensive, the way we're trying to abuse Mishra is by using this very odd ramp/cost reduction package. So first off, we have 3 Heartless Summonings. This one is, I think, the only non-Mishra, non-artifact in our main deck. Not counting lands, of course. So, 1 in a black enchantment. Creature spells you cast cost 2 less. Creatures you control get -1, -1. So this really speeds up the process of casting big things, especially artifacts, because it can't reduce colored mana cost. So it doesn't help that much with Mishra. We still have to pay a black, a red, and a blue. But if you have a Wormcoil, you cast it for 4 mana. Sure, maybe it's a 5/5 instead of a 6/6, but still, a 4 mana 5/5 Wormcoil is still a great deal. Really, it's kind of like the Eldrazi lands, which are in the process of getting banned in Modern. That is the same amount of cost reduction it does. It's like having an Eye of Ugin on the battlefield, except it affects any creature and every creature in your deck. So that's the first one, 3 of those. 4 Ethereum Sculptors. This one's pretty sweet. 1 in a blue, you get a 1/2 artifact creature. And it says, artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to play. So this is another cost reduction. It helps us cast our expensive things quicker. And it works with Mishra, so we can take, and when we cast 1 Ethereum Sculptor, we get another one for free, which means all of our artifacts cost 2 less to cast, and they can really get out of control and spiral and snowball really quickly. Let's skip Sculpting Steel for the moment and go to Cloud Key. So Cloud Key is kind of like Ethereum Sculptor. This card is really good. I don't know why it doesn't see play anywhere. It seems like there could be other sweet combos with it. So 3 mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you choose artifact, creature, enchantment, instant, or sorcery. So a card type other than Planeswalkers, which actually weren't around when Cloud Key was printed. And spells you play of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. So it's basically just like Ethereum Sculptor in our deck. It does all the same things. We almost always set it on artifacts. So it's another way to make our artifacts cheaper. And it doubles up with Mishra. So we cast 1, we get another one for free. Sculpting Steel is basically a Phyrexian Metamorph, but it only copies artifacts, not creatures. So 3 mana when it enters the battlefield as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield. So I put it under the cost reduction effects because a lot of times we use it to get another Ethereum Sculptor, or 2 more if we have a Mishra on the battlefield, or get another Cloud Key, or 2 more if we have a Mishra on the battlefield. But it can copy some of our other things too. So let's talk about the big payoff. This is the arc part of the deck, because they all come in 2s. 2x2 come the big artifact creatures. First off, Tukadoltha Forgemaster, 5 mana 3/5, has an ability where you can sack 3 artifacts, and you get to search your library for an artifact and put it on the battlefield. So we can use this in the late game to sack our Ethereum Sculptors, our Cloud Keys, things like that, to get another one of our big spells. So that's kind of where it comes in. Of course, we have 2 of them, so when we cast 1, we can get 1 for free with Mishra. 2 Wormcoil Engines, same deal. We can get 1 for free with Mishra. Probably know what it does, but it is just super powerful. 6 mana, 6/6 with Death Touch and Lifelink, and when it dies, you get 2 3/3 Worm tokens, one of them with Lifelink, one of them with Death Touch. So it is just a ton of power and toughness for its mana cost. It only costs 4 if we have a Heartless Summoning. Sometimes we cast it for 0 if we have enough Ethereum Sculptors and Cloud Keys on the battlefield, and it just does a really good job of keeping us alive against burn, and it can just win us the game. Then 2 Steel Hellkites, another 6-drop that we can get 2 of with Mishra, and can be pretty effective in the right matchups. So it has flying, it has a weird artifact fire breathing, so you can pay 2 colorless, and it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. But then the big payoff is you can pay X after it deals combat damage, and you destroy all non-land permanents with the converted mana cost of X that the player that was dealt damage controls. So if our opponent has a board full of 2-drops, we can get in a swing with Steel Hellkite, pay 2 mana, and blow them all up. And it hits any non-land permanents, so it's really good if we can get it out fast enough against cheap low-end decks. It can kind of be a board wipe, so it's pretty sweet, and it's evasive, and a good way to close out the game. Then the 2 really big ones, we have 2 Platinum Empyreans, 8 mana, 8/8 Golem, and it has very few words of text on it, but the words are very important. It says your life total can't change. So this is a way that we can stay alive against pretty much anything, unless our opponent's killing us with the Annihilator effect on Emrakul or Mill or something like that. It is very hard to lose the game if we can keep a Platinum Empyrean alive on the battlefield. And then the way we often win the game, or hopefully will win the game, Blightsteel Colossus, 12 mana, 11/11, Trample, Infect, and Indestructible. That closes out the game in 1 attack on an empty board, even with blockers, usually 2 attacks, so it is just a pretty guaranteed way to kill our opponent with the Trample Infect combo. So we have a few more main deck cards. 2 Lightning Greaves, 2 of course because of Mishra, 2 mana, Equipment. Equipped creature has Haste and Shroud, and you get to equip it for free. So the main idea of this one is we can use our Kadoltha Forge Master, for example, to get a Blightsteel and attack with it right away by giving it haste. Also can let us attack with a Worm Coil right away if our life total is low, or a Steel Hellkite to blow up our opponent's board quicker. So, and it also protects things. We can stick it on our Mishra in the early game, or even Ethereum Sculptor, and just make sure it doesn't get hit by a Path to Exile or a Lightning Bolt or something. Then we have 4 copies of Thirst for Knowledge, just the best draw spell if you're playing an artifact-heavy blue deck, in all of Modern, I think. And then we have a sweet Mindslaver combo package. So we have 1 Mindslaver. We didn't play 2 because Mindslaver is actually legendary, so getting a second one with Mishra isn't really that beneficial. And then we have 1 Academy Ruins, which lets us get our Mindslaver back from the graveyard. So you've probably seen this combo before. It's kind of one of the ways Tron decks win the game. Mindslaver, pay 4 and sack it. Cost 6 mana. Pay 4 and sack it. You control target player's next turn. Then, if you have enough mana, you can use Academy Ruins, put the Mindslaver back on your library, and basically you steal all of your opponent's turns forever. Mana base-wise, pretty basic. We have 10 fetches, 4 Polluted Deltas, 4 Bloodstained Mires, and 2 Flooded Strands. Then we have a handful of Shocklands, so a Blood Crypt, 2 Steam Vents, 2 Watery Graves, and then 6 Islands as our basics. Of course, we also have that Academy Ruins, not pictured in the landslide because we already talked about it. And then sideboard-wise, we have some ways to protect our combo and disrupt our opponent. So 4 Thought Seizes, 4 Negates, and 3 Terminates, a little bit of creature removal, and then a few one-ofs. We have a single Electrolyze, a single Tribute to Hunger, which can gain us life and kill an Emrakul or an Ulamog or 1 big creature. A Shatterstorm. Might seem counterintuitive that our artifact deck is playing a card in the sideboard that says destroy all artifacts, but against a deck like Affinity or something, we really don't mind. A lot of times we can control it, so we are still getting more advantage out of Shatterstorm, even though we're an artifact deck. And then 1 Languish also might seem subpar compared to Damnation, but when you consider that none of our creatures, well, Mishra and Ethereum Sculptor, but none of our big artifact creatures die to Languish when they do die to Damnation, that's why we're going with Languish as our Wrath in the sideboard. Anyway, that's the deck. So we're looking to use Mishra to get a bunch of artifact cost reducing effects on the battlefield. So Ethereum Sculptor, Cloud Keys, Sculpting Steel, copying those, and our Heartless Summoning, which isn't an artifact. Then we're looking to cast big artifact creatures like Blightsteel Colossus, Platinum Empyrean, Wormcoil Engine, Steel Hellkite, and Kadaltha Forge Master, which can also search out some artifacts. Hopefully, we stick our Lightning Greaves on those and just smash our opponent to death really quickly with huge, powerful threats. And not just one huge, powerful threat, but two, because we always get two with Mishra. And then when that doesn't work out, we can always use those cost reduction effects to make Mindslaver very cheap or free, and then Mindslaver lock people with Academy Ruins. So that's the idea of the deck. Whether or not it'll work, I'm really not sure. I fear that it will be inconsistent. I think it can get some incredibly explosive draws when we draw well, but in some ways it's a really odd take on a ramp deck, and like all ramp decks, it has potential to suffer from the draw the wrong half of your deck problem. If our opening hand is all Blightsteels and Platinum Empyreans, not going to go well. On the other hand, if our opening hand is all Ethereum Sculptors and Cloud Keys, also not going to go well. So we got to hope we draw a nice mixture of our big top-end stuff and our early game cost reduction stuff. Hopefully, Mishra will help hold it together because it can double up on those early game spells. So one Ethereum Sculptor actually gives us two, which gives us a permanent 2-mana cost reduction on all our big artifact spells, so it can spiral incredibly quickly. And remember, Mishra lets us get those back out of the graveyard too, so even having them die isn't that big of a deal because we can cast another one and get them back with Mishra. So, and the other thing is, it is possible that Thirst of Knowledge will be the key to overcome that inconsistency, because drawing 3 is a really good way to make sure we are hitting what we need. So hopefully we draw a lot of Thirst of Knowledge and draw the right half of our deck at the right time. If we do, I think it's going to be pretty explosive. I'm going to say we win about, let's go with 30% of the time, which is actually a pretty high prediction for me in Against the Odds. So I'm going to go with 30%. I think we can win some games because all we really need is one big threat, and we can take over the game with a Blightsteel or Platinum Empyrean, and hopefully Mishra will be able to get us there by doubling up on those ramp spells. Anyway, make sure to check out the website, mtggoldfish.com. That's where you'll find the article for this Against the Odds and the poll for next Against the Odds, as well as a ton of other great content, prices, decks, strategy, pretty much anything and everything you could want related to Magic the Gathering. And if you enjoyed our Mishra's Arc Against the Odds videos, make sure to click the subscribe button and click that like button that are about to pop up on the bottom of your screen. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy our videos, and I will talk to you soon.